Hello there guys and welcome to this weekend's action of IFMC IndyCar. I am JWF1 and we are here at the Daytona International Speedway specifically for its road course for round 2 of the Season 4-5 Championship. If you didn't see what happened last weekend at Bowen Motorsports Park, it was quite an interesting race towards the end of the race, it must be said, with pretty much everybody just retiring galore, really. In the end, it was Alexander Rossi, after a dominant race, who went on to win with Ed Jones second, and Simon Pagenaud, who had a problem earlier on in the race, managing to pick up the final podium position. And as a result, Alexander Rossi taking an early lead in the Drivers' Championship, with Target Andy Graham and Silicon Valley tied at the top of the Teams' Championship, with Chevrolet taking an early lead in the Manufacturers' Championship. Well, we're here at the Daytona International Speedway. It is classed as a roval, of course, because it's half a road course, half an oval, and but it is road course specifications for these guys today. And as you can see, we've got bright and sunny conditions if my computer decides it wants to go to sleep. It is bright and sunny conditions here at the Daytona International Speedway, and it should make for a great race weekend indeed. So I think without further ado, guys, let's get to the qualifying session here at Daytona. So, here we are then, well, it should come up in a bit. Here we are then in the pit lane, and we're going to go to the end of the pit lane with, who's at the end of the pit lane actually? I think it might be Max Chilton, so we will wait and get this session underway. It is, of course, a 35-minute session, and we'll wait and see who's going to be the first to get out onto the track. When we were last here, of course, for pre-season testing, a fortnight ago, it was quite an interesting testing session with, I think it was was it Joseph Newgarden or was it James Hinchcliffe? It was one of the two that went up to the top, but it kind of variated the field a little bit, it must be said, around this track, due to the fact that it's half a road course and half an oval. It kind of, you know, mix things up a little bit during that test, and we saw that at Bowen Motorsports Park last weekend when those performances didn't really seem to come on during Daytona. So we could expect maybe a mixture of a grid this weekend, but we'll have to wait and see. But the first man out on track is Marco Andretti for Adrenaline Motorsport, and they were very unlucky last time out at Bowen Motorsports Park because they just missed out on a podium finish with Marco, with both drive and a double points finish, I should say, as both Wickens and Andretti retired thanks to mechanical problems. They're hoping to put that behind them and try and get some points here at Daytona. This is where their championship effectively starts for them. Takuma Sato out on the track looking to get some points on the board after his teammate won last week, and of course Sato was left retired. And so Sato out on the track. We also have Ryan Hunter-Ray for E-Power, Simon Pagenaud out there for Silicon Valley Racing, Helio Castroneves, JR Hildebrand, Felix Rosenquist, Max Chilton, Scott Dixon, Robert Wickens, James Hinchcliffe, Joseph Newgarden coming out on the track. We also have Will Power and Tony Kanard coming out on the track as well, as Andretti now then approaches the bus stop chicane before approaching the final banking before he starts his first flying lap on the track now then, as he will now come up towards this banking now then, round the last corner then goes Marco Andretti. Obviously he comes there at slower speeds than what he would do if he used it oval, of course. That's because of the fact that he used the bus stop chicane, which is obviously gives it a little bit of a slower entrance into there. But as you can see now, then Andretti is about to start his lap now then, as he goes around this left-hander. He's now started his lap as he now comes through into what's the first few turns on the racetrack. The sparks coming off the back of Andretti's car. Through turn 1 he goes now then, as he will make his way down towards turn 2 in a little bit, which he does. Into turn 2 he goes, because for some reason it doesn't have the right and left kinks before this right-hander. For some reason we haven't modelled this mod, but oh well. Through the flat-out left-hander he goes before he slows it all the way down into this hairpin. Now in terms of overtaking around this track here at Daytona, I expect most of them to come around about where the oval part is. So I think you'd have to be quite lucky to try and pull off an overtake around the road course area of the track. I think we could expect overtakes around the oval area and then up towards the bus stop chicane possibly is where we're going to be seeing a majority of the overtaking being done this weekend. As now around the banking now then goes Marco Andretti in the Adrenaline Motorsport car as he rounds the section of corners before he approaches the bus stop chicane now then. Down the straight he goes as he will now approach the bus stop he will soon approach. So into the left and then into the right goes Marco. Around he goes, then around the right and then into the left he will go, as he will now try and get up as close to the wall as possible before he comes around this final banking now then, before he's about to finish his final lap now then through the left-hander, as now there's a little bit of a long run before he approaches the start-finish line. It will be very interesting to see how the drivers cope when coming into the pits, of course, because I think we saw quite a few incidents during testing, As now Andretti rounds this left-hander, and what's the benchmark time going to be? It's a 1:37.308, so that's the time that Marco Andretti has set. Here's Takuma Sato. What can he manage? Across the line he will go, and he goes second fastest behind Andretti. Hunter Ray goes fastest, so Hunter Ray goes to the top. It's P3 for Simon Pagenaud on that lap, and it's P1 for Helio Castroneves. So Castroneves to the top of the timing sheet. JR Hildebrand crosses the line to go fourth, so P4 for the American. Here's Felix Rosenqvist, who in real life is actually rumoured to be driving in IndyCar next year with Chip Ganassi Racing alongside Scott Dixon. So that's pretty much that, really. It looks like Ed Jones is going to get booted out of that seat. Rosenqvist, meantime, in IFMC, goes only 7th with that lap. Chilton goes 6th. For the moment, it's P3 for Scott Dixon, P2 for Robert Wickens, a good time for him, P5 for fellow compatriot Newgarden, sorry, not Newgarden, Hinchcliffe. This is Newgarden we're looking at now as he just comes around the final turn. Let's see what Joseph Newgarden can manage then on his first flying lap. He was up here during testing, he was up near the top. I think he just missed out on the top spot, but Newgarden across the line, and he goes third fastest for the moment. So P3 for Newgarden. Will Power crosses the line, and it's only 10th place for the Aussie. 6th place for Tony Kanaan, a good time from him. And that's that then for these laps. So at the moment, it is currently Castroneves. It's currently at the top of the timing sheets, followed by, in second place, Robert Wickens, and in third is Joseph Newgarden. So that's what the top three currently looks like. We've still got 8 more cars to do laps, so we'll wait and see what effect those guys will have as this session progresses. So we've already had around 7 minutes of the session gone, or 6 minutes, just under 7 minutes. Shows how long of a lap this track is, and as Newgarden will be coming back into the pits this lap, along with Power and Kanaan. I wouldn't be surprised if Kanaan's got a little bit more in the tank, because you don't know whether if Power actually held him up during this lap, but still, P6, not bad for Kanaan. He finished 4th last time out. Good sort of return for SIC in the IFMC fraternity to be in 4th, and so very good start for the Malaysian team. They're hoping to continue that progress here at Daytona. So Kanaan will soon approach the bus stop chicane, and so not so far a good lap for Kanaan, and I think Chilton's not done a bad job either. Well, I say that he's down in 12th, but it seemed to be an alright lap for the Brit as everybody now comes back into the pits, including James Hinchcliffe, who was actually challenging at the top during testing. So clearly James has not quite got up to grips yet in terms of qualifying. But we'll wait and see how that one will pan out. But as you can see, it is Castroneves at the top of the timing sheet. So it could be quite interesting as some weird things going on as Kanaan has gone for a crash just before the pit lane. And I wonder if he was trying to get out of the way there of Will Power. So Kanaan has crashed just at the pit entrance. And let's have a look then. So he gets the slipstream off Power. And he was trying to get past him, but then he realised, oh, it's a classic error, in fact, of Kanaan just misjudging where the pit lane was. He veered to the left, luckily didn't collect Will Power, but he just loses it, and, well, a little bit of clumsy driving there, it must be said, from the Brazilian veteran, Tony Kanaan, and he'll have to crawl into the spare car if he wants to continue. Well, they could have a quick fix with that car, but I wouldn't be surprised if that car is out for the rest of the day. Luckily, Kanaan is right next to the pits where he can climb into the spare car, but that's already one car down for SIC as far as they are concerned. Ed Jones is now out there on the track for Target and Graham, and in fact Will Power actually had to miss the pit lane to avoid Tony Kanaan, so there's a chance that Power could actually run out of fuel, so that is not good news for Will Power, and he could be one trying to climb into the T car depending on where he pulls over. Or will he have enough fuel actually to get back? I don't think he will, in fact. I think it's going to be nip and tuck to see if he can get back to the pits before the car conks out on him. As Jones is out on the track, Fernando Alonso out there as well. Luckily for him, Power won't be holding him up on his lap. His teammate Ryan Hunter-Reay has come back out. Hunter-Reay currently 5th, so doing a good job at the moment. Gabby Chavez out there as well, as his current pole sitter Helio Castroneves, Pietro Fittipaldi, Graham Rahal, Juan Pablo Montoya, Alexander Rossi, the winner of the last race at Power Motorsports Park, Sebastian Bourdais, the defending champion, out on track and looking to get some points after he retired for 2 seasons in a row at Power Motorsports Park. Max Chilton back out on the track, as is JR Hildebrand, Tony Kanaan as well in the spare car, and Power, there should be another car spawning as soon as Power goes into the pits, and I think he might just actually have enough to get back into the pits, and Alonso looks like he's just going to pass him around the outside there, so I think Power's just going to have enough to get back into the pits with this amount of fuel he's got. So Power very, very lucky, it must be said, So he now comes into the pits now then, and yep, he's just made it before he runs out of fuel. So that was kind of nip and tuck there in terms of fuel there for Will Power. Ed Jones now then, he's on his first flying lap. The man who finished second last time out at Barber. It was a little bit of luck, it must be said, because his teammate retired thanks to mechanical problems, and of course Marco Andretti retiring as well. So the people that joined Alexander on the podium were very lucky to even get there as well, especially Pagano, who got up to third on the last lap as a result of Alonso pulling off with mechanical problems. Alonso was classified in 7th because that was where the cut-off of cars was before everybody started getting lapped. Well, Dixon was the first car to be a lap down, and he was 8th, so Alonso was classified in 7th place. As a result, as Jones now then, he's just going to go around the left-hander. As he's currently on his lap, he'll be going as fast as possible before he approaches the bus-stop chicane on the track. And let's see what Jones can manage then on this lap now then, as he will soon approach the bus-stop. And so now approaching the left, right and left hand as he will soon go, as we have just over 25 minutes of this qualifying session remain to determine the grid for tomorrow's race here at Daytona. And through the bus stop there then goes Ed Jones, as he will now make his way around this left-handed banking. And so now let's see what Ed Jones can do now then, and he will soon approach the pit straight. And Jones is now going to cross the line. And where is this going to place the Emiretti's driver? Ed Jones, across the line he will go. And he goes 6th fastest for the moment. So P6 for Jones. Fernando Alonso across the line. And he goes fastest. Alonso to the top of the timing sheets. Beats Helio Castroneves. And I think he's the first to get to a 1 minute 35 actually. I think Castroneves is the 1:36. I could be wrong on that. But I think Alonso is the first to get to the 1 minute 35. Ryan Hunter-Reay just going around the banking now then. Alonso's teammate. Let's see what Ryan Hunter-Reay can manage in the e-Power car. As he just tries to get up close to the wall. He didn't get close to the wall there, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got close to the wall after he came out of that bus stop chicane. Let's see what Hunter-Reay can do. Can he try and beat his teammate to the top? Hunter-Reay, across the line he goes, and he goes up to 5th. So an improvement for Hunter-Reay, but not quite a front row lockout for e-Power. It's P5 now for Gabby Chavez. Castroneves doesn't improve and remains in 2nd place. He is actually in the 1 minute 35s. He was just able to scrape into the 1 minute 35s. As up into 3rd goes Pietro Fittipaldi. A good time from him there. P3 for Pietro. Only 12th for Graham Rahal. Juan Pablo Montoya, across the line he goes. It's only 20th for the Colombian. He's been struggling so far this season as Pagano starts his lap. He was the one that got spawned after Power came into the pits. As it's only P18 for Alexander Rossi, the man who won last time out at Barber. 10th only for Sebastian Bourdais. Not a good lap from him. Up into 17th goes Max Chilton. A slight improvement there then for the Brit as JR Hildebrand crosses the line. What can he do? And he goes up to 11th, so he's just outside the top 10, but an improvement nonetheless. Here's Kanani, who's now all the way down in 12th. Let's see if this can be an improvement for the Brazilian in the spare car. It is, but only by 1 place. He's up to 11th, getting in front of JR Hildebrand. Is there somebody else on a lap? I think Pagano is in there. Yeah, Pagano on a lap as he just goes around this left-hander now then before approaching the oval section of the track now then, as he goes around the first banking. And let's see what Pagano can manage as he just goes around the banking now then on the track, and he'll soon approach the bus stop chicane. The Frenchman, who was very lucky to even get a podium last time out, showed some good pace last time out in Barber, and looking to see if he can try and continue that here in Daytona, as they will now approach the bus stop chicane then through the left and then into the right he will go. And let's see what Simon Pagano can do then on this lap, as he will try and get close up to the wall out of the chicane now then. Around the banking goes the Frenchman. He missed out on the championship last season, of course. Got 3rd last time in Barber after a lot of luck, as Simon Pagano coming out of the final banking, as he will soon approach the start-finish line. What is the time going to be for the Frenchman in the Silicon Valley racing car now then? Simon Pagano is going to cross the line, and it's only good enough for 16th at the moment, so no improvement there then for the Frenchman, and so far not getting a good lap hooked up. So at the moment it is currently Alonso by only 0.03 of a second ahead of Helio Castroneves. He's currently fastest with Fittipaldi 3rd, Wickens 4th, and Newgarden rounding out the top 5. So very interesting stuff. The top 2 have broke away from the rest of the pack by 0.4 of a second. So it's very close at the top between Alonso and Castroneves at this stage. But that could still all change. There's still 22 minutes left on the clock exactly as I just said that. As Simon's going back into the pits. As now coming out on track is a man who could be rumoured to go into IndyCar in real life next year, Felix Rosenqvist. As now he goes around the right-hander on the track. And so Rosenqvist will now approach these section of corners. And you may be wondering why is Rosenqvist even in this to begin with. Well, it's because he actually competed in Indy Lights a few years ago. Anybody who has competed in IndyCar and Indy Lights is allowed to take part in this, providing they're not retired, of course. And of course not dead. No disrespect to any IndyCar drivers that have died over the years, but you know, we just got to keep up to date with things, and it's just a mark of respect, I suppose. Here comes Felix Rosenqvist as he now goes around the banking. I suppose it is a mark of respect. I don't know why I said I suppose. I'm probably just talking a little bit too quickly, or just talking out my backside. So when I say I suppose, so Felix Rosenqvist now then is just coming up now then towards the chicane. James Hinchcliffe is now coming out. He's also out on the track. We also have Takuma Sato out there as well. Will Power, Scott Dixon, Marco Andretti, Pietro Fittipaldi, Fernando Alonso, Robert Wickens, Ed Jones, Graham Rahal, Juan Pablo Montoya. We also have Gabby Chavez, who is expected to come out as well. And they're all the guys that are going to be out in this instance. Rosenqvist currently on the back row so far. Rosenqvist so far seems to be showing that he's got good race pace underneath him, just not really so far getting it hooked up in terms of one lap pace, it must be said. And we're looking to try and see if he can improve that during the course of the season. As Rosenqvist now then approaches the first few turns on the racetrack, around the section of corners he goes. And now approaching the next few turns on the racetrack, round the right-hander then goes Felix Rosenqvist as he uses the curb on the outside up towards the next section of corners on the racetrack. And now up towards the right-hander now then will go Felix Rosenqvist. And he will just about miss the curb on the outside as now he will approach the banking. And he will now approach the oval section of the track. And so far appearing to be a tidy lap so far for the Swede, as he's also joined by Martini that's currently behind him at the moment. I think that's James Hinchcliffe that's currently behind him at this stage. As now Rosenqvist will approach the bus stop chicane, and as he looks to try and get out of the back row of the grid if he can now then, up towards the chicane goes the Chevy powered Red Rose racing car. Through the left and then into the right-hander he will go, as now he will approach this banking again. And let's see what Rosenqvist can manage. Round this left-hander goes the Swede. And he will just come around this left-hander now then before approaching the pit straight. And let's see what Felix Rosenqvist can manage now then, as he will come across the line in just a little bit. Is this going to be an improvement then for Felix Rosenqvist? Across the line he will go, and he doesn't improve, remains 21st with that lap. As up into 8th goes James Hinchcliffe, so Hinch improves a little bit to go up to 8th. Gabby Chavez has just started a lap to Kimisato across the line and remains 20th, so still struggling at the moment. Here's his teammate Alexander Rossi, who's just about to start a lap. Will Power, who's all the way down in 18th place. Let's see what Power can manage then on this instance. His teammate Dixon is behind him at the moment. I don't know where he is at this stage, but Power is going to cross the line, and he remains 18th. Scott Dixon goes up to 7th, so a slight improvement for him there. That's P7 for the Kiwi. Still 15th for Marco Andretti, as an improvement for Pietro Fittipaldi, but he remains in 3rd. Here's current pole sitter Fernando Alonso. Can he slightly improve on his best time? And yes, he can, by 700ths of a second. He's now on a 1 minute 35.892. So an improvement there then for Fernando Alonso. I think he's now a 10th in front of Helio Castroneves. I could be wrong on that, or nearly a 10th. As an improvement for Wickens, but he remains 4th, isn't able to push Fittipaldi down that place, and Wickens unable to get into the top 3 at this stage. Here comes Ed Jones, as he will now come across the line. Is Jones on for an improvement all the way down in 10th? And he improves but remains P10, so he's still on the cusp at this stage. Graham Rahal improves but still only 14th at this stage. Montoya, who's currently last, remains in last, so Montoya struggling in this session. Both Red Rose Racing cars are on the back row at the moment at this stage, so both of them really struggling around here in Daytona. Here comes Gabby Chavez, who's just going around the final banking himself, and let's see if he is able to improve on this lap now then, as he will approach the start-finish line. Gabby Chavez is going to cross the line, and the Macamo driver, what can he do? He goes up to third with that lap. A big improvement there then for Gabby Chavez. The two Macamo cars currently locking out row 2 at the moment as Chavez gets up into third place. A really good time there for the young Colombian. Here's Alexander Rossi, the man who won last time out at Barber Motorsports Park. Can he find some time to improve? The early championship leader, he's going to cross the line, and he doesn't improve, remains 19th. Rossi struggling around this track as Fittipaldi and Andretti both come back into the pits, and I think that's it for these guys at the moment, these group of cars. So at the moment it is still Alonso fastest with Castanever second and Chavez who rounds out the top 3. So that's how it looks at this stage in qualifying, as Rossi now then just goes around the left-hander, and he will soon be coming back into the pits this time by, as we have just over 16 minutes to go in this qualifying session to determine the grid for tomorrow's race here at the road course of the Daytona International Speedway. And Rossi now then heading back onto the banking, as he'll be coming back into the pits this time by, as JR Hildebrand is now coming back out on the racetrack now then. And so that's that really. Hildebrand now then out on the track for Silicon Valley Racing, as he just goes around the left-hander. So JR Hildebrand now then out on the racetrack now then, as he will go around the right-hander, as he will soon be about to start his next flying lap. Hildebrand currently in 13th place, just outside the top 10. Both Silicon Valley Racing cars currently outside the top 10 at this stage of qualifying. As around the right-hander there then goes JR Hildebrand, as he just prepares himself to start his next flying lap. Helio Castroneves back out on the track, looking to see if he can try and snatch back pole off Fernando Alonso. Joseph Newgarden out there as well, as is defending champion Sebastian Bourdais, who's just outside the top 10 in 11th. Ryan Hunter-Reay out there as well, as is Max Chilton. Felix Rosenquist out there as well. We also have Simon Pagenaud, Takuma Sato, Tony Kanaan, Robert Wickens, James Hinchcliffe and Will Power to also come out on the track in a little bit as well. As now up towards the bus stop chicane now then goes JR Hildebrand, as he tries to get himself the perfect line into those sets of corners. Same with the guy behind, Helio Castroneves, looking to try and snatch pole back off Fernando Alonso if he can. Of course, Castroneves was on pole earlier in the session until Alonso managed to beat it in this session. As now around the banking goes JR Hildebrand, and let's see what he is able to do now then, as he goes down the straight before approaching the start-finish line. And across the line then goes JR Hildebrand, as the sparks come off the back of his car. He starts his lap now then, as he will approach turn 1 on the racetrack now then. So he uses a tad bit of curb on the outside before approaching turn 2. Hildebrand desperate to try and find some improvement in the Honda-powered Silicon Valley Racing. Out of the left-hander he goes before approaching this next flat-out left-hander. And Hildebrand now then up towards the hairpin he will go, as he just flings the car in. And so far Hildebrand will approach this banking in just a little bit. Around the left-hander he goes, as he just gets a good drive out of that corner as he now approach the banking. And let's see what Hildebrand can manage now then, as he goes around the banking before approaching the bus stop chicane on the racetrack. And so now approaching the bus stop goes JR Hildebrand, and let's see what he's able to do, as he's actually just coming up towards the end of sector 2, I must say. Sparks coming off the back of the Silicon car. Round the bus stop he goes, as he will approach the final banking before he finishes his next flying lap. And Hildebrand currently 13th for the moment at this stage, but can he get the car into the top 10? If he can, round the last banking he will go, as now he gets a little bit of a long run before he approaches the start-finish line. Hildebrand is now going to cross the line along with Castroneves, who's behind him as well, doing a lap. Hildebrand, can he get himself into the top 10? And no, he can't. Doesn't improve, remains 13th. Still second for Helio Castroneves, still unable to beat Alonso off the top as Wickens starts his lap. Joseph Newgarden doesn't improve, remains 6th for the moment. Looked like he got held up a bit by Wickens, it must be said. Sebastian Bourdais crosses the line and goes up to 7th, so a big improvement there then for Bourdais, but still being outpaced by Castroneves. P7 for Sebastian Bourdais. Here comes Ryan Hunter-Reay, he's currently 9th. Can he find some improvement? And he looks like he's way off his best. He must have made a mistake somewhere. 1 minute 40.174. That's way off his personal best. He must have made a mistake or got held up or something like that. I would presume Hunter Ray must have made a mistake somewhere on the track to be 4 seconds off his personal best overall. As now Chilton on a lap. Can he get out of? Can he improve on his 17th place? Chilton is going to cross the line, and he does, but still 17th. For the Brit now then, as here comes Felix Rosenqvist in the Red Rose. Rosenqvist will cross the line now then, and it's still 21st for him at the moment. Still 16th for Simon Pagenaud, clearly struggling at the moment. Marco Andretti has just started a lap. Here comes Tony Kanaan, currently 12th. Can he get in the top 10? He improves, but not into the top 10. Still 12th for the Brazilian. Here comes Takuma Sato. Down in 20th at the moment. So far still needing to adjust to the Fantari racing car. Sato crosses the line, remains in 20th for the moment. Hinchcliffe remains 10th at this stage. Will Power in the Eldorado. Can he find some more improvement in the car? He does improve, but still 18th. He's still struggling in this session. It must be said, clearly this Roval not suiting the Aussies' driving style. As Robert Wickens is on a lap now then. Let's see if he can find some improvement. Across the line he goes. And he goes up to 3rd with that lap. A really good time from Wickens. A big improvement. That's P3 for the Canadian. And he's not that far off Castroneves and Alonso now. So up into 3rd place goes Robert Wickens in this qualifying session. As Marco Andretti's teammate is currently on a lap, as we have just over 10 minutes of this session remaining. Andretti now then approaching the bus stop chicane. There's a few cars in front of him are going back into the pits. This time by through the bus stop. And Andretti now then will come out of this corner now then before approaching the banking, and let's see what Andretti can manage around the banking, and he will soon cross the line in just a little moment. Round the banking, down the straight now then goes Marco Andretti, and let's see if this will be an improvement. His teammates go up to 3rd. Can Andretti get himself anywhere near teammate Wickens? Across the line he goes. He improves but remains 15th. Despite the fact he's improved by 2/10, but it's still not enough to get him up the field at the moment. So some gaps during the field, it must be said. As his teammate Robert Wickens currently 3rd at the moment, as he's coming back into the pits this time by. So Pietro Fittipaldi in the Macamo cars coming back out on the track, seeing if he can try and get back onto the 2nd row. So the lockout that Macamo had a little earlier had been wrecked thanks to Robert Wickens improving there. Pietro now then around the right-hander he goes, as Fittipaldi is about to start his next lap, as he just comes out of that right-hander before approaching the flat-out left, as Pietro prepares for, I think, probably his penultimate flying lap. It could be his last. It all depends how much time he has by the time he goes back into the pits after he finishes his next flying lap, but we'll wait and see on that. Fernando Alonso, the current pole sitter, is now out on the track now then, as is Graham Rahal for Martini, all the way down in 14th, looking to find some more time to improve. Scott Dixon out on the track, as is Ed Jones, Helio Castroneves, Joseph Newgarden, Alexander Rossi, J.R. Hildebrand, Ryan Hunter-Reay, Gabby Chavez, Juan Pablo Montoya, and defending champion Sebastian Bourdais will all be coming out on the track in just a little bit now then, as Andretti is coming back into the pit, so there should be another car being spawned in the pit lane in just a little bit. As through the bus stop chicane goes Pietro Fittipaldi in the Panasonic Macamo Motorsport car. As now he just comes out of that section of corners, round the banking he will go, as he just goes around the section of corners, and then through the left-hander goes Pietro Fittipaldi, as he's about to start his next flying lap. Down the straight he goes, and Pietro Fittipaldi is about to start his lap now. Then across the line he goes, as the sparks continue to fly out the back of his car now then, as that's his lap already wrecked as a result, as Bourdais just came out of the pit. So Fittipaldi's lap completely ruined by Sebastian Bourdais, and lap ruined there then for the grandson of two-time Formula 1 world champion Emerson Fittipaldi, and the son of former F1 driver Christian Fittipaldi. So that's that really, as now he's going to try and find a way past Bourdais into the hairpin, which he does. Pietro goes through there, and that could be an overtaking zone then for the race, but we'll wait and see on that. So that's clearly something new to us there then. as we now come around the bank, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bourdais is actually going to be pulling off another overtake around the oval section now then, as Alonso's all up, hoping he doesn't get held up by these two who look like they're going to be scrapping it out around the oval part, as Bourdais now then goes around the outside there then of Pietro Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi doesn't give him the space coming out of there, as Fittipaldi, as we know, his lap has already been compromised by Sebastian Bourdais, who's trying to prepare for his next flying lap, and Bourdais hoping he doesn't get held up by Fittipaldi himself as they go around the bus stop chicane now then. There's Alonso trying to improve on his current pole position time. Luckily he's not going to get held up by these two as Fittipaldi and Bourdais come around the banking. Bourdais about to start his next flying lap, Pietro about to finish one, as now coming out of the banking now then, heading down the pit straight now then, and let's see how much time Bourdais has possibly wrecked on Pietro's lap now then, as he crosses the line, and he is 1.7 seconds off his personal best, so Pietro losing a lot of time as Alonso improves again on that lap to a 1 minute 35.824, so he improves by nearly 700ths of a second from his previous lap. A really good time again for Fernando Alonso, the two-time Formula 1 World Champion in real life and IFMC, the three-time IFMC champion. So that's that then really, as now we look at Scott Dixon, who's on a lap. And in fact, Ryan Hunter-Reis has started the lap himself. Here is Scott Dixon, who's just come out of the banking. Dixon is now going to cross line. Can he improve on his 8th place? And he improves, but still remains 8th with that lap there. Then Max Chilton starts a lap. Ed Jones, can he get into the top 10? No, he can't. Remains 11th with that lap, as here is Alexander Rossi, the current championship leader, all the way down in 19th, and could possibly be his last chance to get a flying lap. He may come back a little bit later on, we'll wait and see. Rossi crosses the line, improves, but remains 17th, so both Fantari struggling around here at Daytona. Here is Joseph Newgarden in the Target Andy Graham racing car. Newgarden will cross the line. Can he find some improvement in the car? Newgarden crosses the line and goes up to 4th. A big improvement there from Newgarden. That's P4 for the Target Andy Graham racing car, as J.R. Hildebrand goes up to 12th on his final flying laps. Only P12 for the American. Montoya crosses the line, still last. Maybe has time for one more flying lap, but clearly Red Rose struggling around here in Daytona. Still 5th for Gabby Chavez, unable to improve. Here is his teammate Pietro Fittipaldi going back into the pits. Bourdais, I wouldn't be surprised if Pietro has compromised his lap a little bit, but we'll see. Bourdais crosses the line and doesn't improve, only by 0.5 of a second, so he remains in 7th with that lap. Helio Castroneves in his teammate now then. Can he find some time to improve? And he doesn't improve on his final flying lap. He remains in 2nd place. So Alonso has beaten Castroneves, but has he beaten most of the guys that still yet to finish all of their laps with just over 4 minutes to go? His teammate Hunter-Reis crosses the line on his final flying lap, remains in 9th. So both e-Power cars currently in the top 10 in this session, as here comes Max Chilton in the SIC car. Chilton, can he improve? And he can, but only up by 1 place. He goes up to 16th with that lap there then, as now was there anybody else that was behind him? No, nobody was behind Chilton that time by anybody else on a lap per se, and no, they weren't. So Chilton was the last one out of that group to do a lap, and at the moment it is still Alonso fastest with Castroneves 2nd, and rounding out the top 3 is Robert Wickens with Newgarden 4th, and the two Macamo cars locking out row 3 with Chavez in front of Fittipaldi. So that's how it looks at this stage, and we've still got just under 3.5 minutes left in the session. We should expect some more cars to come out before the session comes to a close, to find some more time to improve, as Chilton goes around the banking to go back into the pits. Whether he'll come out again, we will. Well, he can't actually. He's run out of laps, but that's that really. As Hinchcliffe, he's now coming out on the track. He's currently in the cusp of the top 10 at the moment, so still only 10th for James Hinchcliffe at the moment, as he just goes around turn 1 on the racetrack. Simon Pagenaud out there, as well as is Felix Rosenquist, Tony Kanaan, Takuma Sato. We're expecting Marco Andretti, Fernando Alonso, Pietro Fittipaldi, Scott Dixon, and a few more to come out once all these guys come back in, and we should expect 3 more to get spawned in the pits. Here's Hinchcliffe now then, up towards the hairpin he will go, as he just makes his way around this long swooping right-hander, the second to last corner before going back onto the oval. As now Hinchcliffe now then preparing for his next flying lap, as he just goes Around this left-hander, in towards the banking he will go. And so now around the banking goes James Hinchcliffe, as he just comes out of the turn before heading down the straight now then, as he will approach the bus stop chicane in just a little bit. And Sparks, well, no Sparks that time by, as we have just over 2 minutes left in this session, so just over 2 minutes left before the end of the session. Round the bus stop now then goes James Hinchcliffe, as he's now about to start his lap. We have Pietro and Gabby of both Macamo in the pits, as Ed Jones is in the pits as well. Marco Andretti has just come out on the track. Gabby Chavez is just coming out as well. James Hinchcliffe now then about to start his final flying lap. And with just over 1.5 minutes left, Hinchcliffe starts his lap. Sparks coming off the back of the Martini now then, as he goes around turn 1. Luckily for him, no traffic coming out of the pits, so it looks like James will get a clean lap in if he can try and improve upon his 10th place at the moment. Round the right hander goes James Hinchcliffe, still at score point after he retired last time out at Barber Motorsports Park. Ray Hall was the only one picking up points, albeit down in 11th after the problems he had earlier on in the race. As Hinchcliffe now then around the hairpin he will go, as he just swoops around those section of corners in towards the left-hander before approaching the ovaled bankings. And let's see then, Hinchcliffe coming off the turn, approaching the banked corner now then, the first of the two banked corners. Well, how America Classic, the first part of the bank is one corner, and the last part of the bank is another corner, so I'll leave you to draw your own conclusions on that one, really. But Hinchcliffe now then will approach the bus stop chicane. As we look at the time of 27 seconds left on the clock, he's 2/10 down off his personal best in the middle sector. So it looks like the Canadian is not looking at an improvement on this lap, and it looks like it's only going to be 10th for James Hinchcliffe once he finishes his lap now then. As he goes around the bank, as you can see by the timer, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Checkered flag is out, and that is the end of the session. Pietro just missed out on the cut there, just probably went out just to get a mileage run. Hinchcliffe crosses the line and he remains in 10th place. No improvement for him. Simon Pagenaud remains 17th. Disappointing for him. Still 21st for Rosenquist, as Kanan goes up to 11th, so a slight improvement for him there then, and he improves on that lap. As still 20th for Takuma Sato. Robert Wickens crosses the line and remains in 3rd, isn't able to challenge the front two men at this stage. Ed Jones has also just missed out on the cut. Alonso is still improving out there at the moment. Alonso on another improvement on his current pole lap. So Alonso now then coming around the banking. He's looking good to get his and E-Power's first ever pole position in IFMC IndyCar. But as he now just goes around the banking, is Alonso going to find some more time to improve, because he was up on his personal best in the middle sector. Alonso now then is going to come across the line. Can he improve on his 1 minute 35.824? Is this another improvement for the Spaniard? And yes, it is a 1 minute 38.807, only 17 thousandths faster, but another improvement for Alonso. Only 8 for Scott Dixon. Graham Rahal on a lap now then, currently 14th at this stage now then, as he will soon come across the line. As Rahal crosses the line now then, and he remains 14th with that lap. Juan Pablo Montoya currently last. Can he get out of that dreaded place? Otherwise it will be a Red Rose Racing lockout on the back row. Montoya crosses the line, and it's only 20 seconds, so both Red Rose Racing cars will start at the back of the field. Marco Andretti remains 15th for that lap. Gabby Chavez, I think the last one to do a lap, crosses the line and remains in 5th. And there you have it then. So after all of that, for the first time in IFMC IndyCar and in only his 3rd IndyCar race, it is Fernando Alonso who takes pole position here at Daytona, and he takes it by nearly 2/10 ahead of Helio Castroneves. He takes his and E-Power's first ever pole position in IFMC IndyCar, and what an achievement for Etihad as a result. And they have finally been able to get they've been able to get pole position in IndyCar after what has been a tricky season for them the previous season. But can they transfer it into their first ever win tomorrow? That will be the question. So there you have it then, guys. After all of that, here is the grid for tomorrow's race here at Daytona. It's Fernando Alonso, the three-time IFMC champion, on pole position with Helio Castroneves 2nd, Robert Wickens 3rd, Joseph Newgarden 4th, followed by Gabby Chavez 5th, Pietro Fittipaldi 6th, Sebastian Bourdais 7th, Scott Dixon Chilton in 8th, Ryan Hunter-Reay 9th, James Hinchcliffe in 10th, Tony Kanaan 11th, Ed Jones 12th, J.R. Hildebrand 13th, followed by Graham Rahal in 14th position. And if we scroll down the rest of the field, it is Marco Andretti in 15th, Max Chilton in 16th, Simon Pagenaud 17th, Will Power 18th, 19th for Alexander Rossi, disappointing from the man that won last time out at Bar Motorsports Park. His teammate is in 20th, Takuma Sato, so the Fantaris locking out the 10th row. And on the back row, we have the two Red Rose racing cars with Felix Rosenquist in 21st and Juan Pablo Montoya in 22nd position. So there you have it then, guys. That has been it for the qualifying session here at Daytona, and that has been it for this live stream. I hope you've enjoyed it. It has been very interesting to watch, and it should be hopefully a very interesting race indeed. So that has been it then, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. We will see you then, guys, tomorrow at a later time of 4:30 PM BST due to the Formula 1 race at Monza for, I believe it is the 80-lap race here at the road course of Daytona. So hopefully we'll be in for a fascinating race indeed. Can Alonso hold on to his pole position and take his and E-Power's first ever IndyCar win, or will they be stopped tomorrow? Only one way to find out is to tune in tomorrow. But until then, guys, that has been it. I hope you enjoyed it, so thank you very much for watching. I've been JWF1, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for what I believe will be the 80-lap race here at the Daytona International Speedway, specifically for its road course. Until then, take care.